Asus and Microsoft ran into a conflict over Windows 11, and it's so serious that Microsoft had to block its own update from installing on thousands of Asus machines. When Microsoft rolled out Windows 11 version 24H2, a major annual feature update, something went wrong for a specific set of Asus laptops. Users with the Asus X415, KA, and X515KA models started reporting that the update would not complete. Their machines would begin the installation process, reach a point they could not pass, and then crash a full blue screen of death. Every single time, Microsoft and Asus investigated. What they found was a hardware compatibility problem between those specific machines and the new update. The exact technical cause was never publicly disclosed in detail. What was disclosed is what Microsoft did next. They placed a compatibility hold on both models. That means the Windows Update system was configured to simply not offer the 24H2 update to those devices at all. And Microsoft issued a direct public warning. If you own one of these Asus laptops and you are not seeing the update, do not try to force install it. The block is there for your protection. That block stayed in place for nearly 4 months. It was not resolved until February 2025, when Microsoft confirmed the issue had been fixed. But the fix was not a Windows patch. It was a BIOS update delivered by Asus itself. A firmware-level change pushed directly to the machine, just to allow the operating system update to proceed without crashing the hardware. Think about what that means. A Windows update was so incompatible with a major laptop manufacturer's hardware that the resolution had to go all the way down to the machine's firmware. That is not a small bug. That is a fundamental break in the relationship between Microsoft's software and a device that is sold today, in stores, with Windows pre-installed. Now, to be clear about what this incident was and what it was not. There were no press conferences, no ultimatums, no Asus executives standing at a podium and threatening to walk away from Windows. What happened was quieter than that. But in some ways, the quiet makes it worse. A compatibility failure this deep, during a routine update cycle affecting real consumers who bought brand new laptops, is exactly the kind of incident that corrodes trust between an operating system maker and the hardware industry that depends on it. And that incident did not happen in isolation. Microsoft decided that any PC running Windows 11 must include a security chip called TPM 2.0, a trusted platform module. The chip provides hardware-level security functions, encrypting drives, protecting login credentials, and ensuring the system boots only verified software. The security case for requiring it is legitimate. Modern computing threats are sophisticated, and having security baked into silicon rather than just software is a genuine improvement. The problem was not the security chip. The problem was the execution. When Windows 11 launched, a very large number of completely functional computers did not have TPM 2.0. Not because they were slow or outdated in terms of performance, but because the chip only became standard on new machines around 2019 or 2020. Someone with a 2017 or 2018 laptop that ran Windows 10 perfectly well, handled video calls, processed documents, browsed the web without issue, was told their machine was not eligible for Windows 11. Microsoft's message to those users was, in effect, your hardware is fine for what you do, but it does not meet our new standards. You need new hardware. The hardware industry pushed back, at first quietly. Then, in late 2025, Dell's Chief Operating Officer, Jeffrey Clark, said something on an analyst call that made headlines across the tech press. He stated that if you compared the Windows 11 adoption curve to the previous major OS transition at the same point in the timeline, Dell was running 10 to 12 percentage points behind. That quote from the COO of the world's third largest PC maker is about as close to a public warning as the hardware industry gets. He was describing a problem that was affecting the entire PC ecosystem. Manufacturers build and sell computers. They depend on Microsoft's operating system to be the product that consumers actually want to run on those computers. When adoption of the new OS stalls, when hundreds of millions of users look at the upgrade and decide they would rather stay where they are, that creates a problem for everyone in the supply chain. According to StatCounter, which tracks global desktop operating system usage across more than 1 billion monthly page views, Windows 11 only crossed the 50% mark of Windows desktops in mid-2025, nearly 4 years after it launched. And even that progress was fragile. By December 2025, StatCounter showed Windows 11 at around 50.7% of the Windows market, while Windows 10, which Microsoft officially ended support for in October 2025, still held over 44%. An operating system that had reached its official end of life, for which Microsoft had stopped issuing security updates, was running on nearly half of all active Windows machines. Users, in large numbers, were choosing to stay on an unsupported OS rather than upgrade to its replacement. That is not a normal migration pattern. It has not happened before in Windows history at this scale. Part of the reason is hardware. Millions of machines simply cannot run Windows 11 without buying new hardware, which gives their owners a stark choice: spend money or stay where they are. But hardware compatibility is only part of the picture. There's also a performance problem that Microsoft itself acknowledged. In July 2025, the company confirmed that Windows 11 had measurable performance issues. Users were reporting that basic tasks like browsing files in Windows Explorer and opening the right-click context menu were slower on Windows 11 than on the same machine running Windows 10. Independent testing backed this up. The operating system that was supposed to represent progress was, on some fundamental tasks, performing worse than the one it was supposed to replace. And then there is the AI situation. In 2024, Microsoft announced a feature called Recall, an AI tool built into Windows that would take screenshots of your screen every few seconds, index them, and allow you to search through your own computing history using natural language. Microsoft marketed it as a photographic memory for your PC. Security researchers described it differently, and they found that the early version stored all of that screenshot data in an unencrypted plain text file, which meant any malware on the machine could read everything Recall had ever captured, including passwords, bank details, private messages, everything. The backlash was immediate and severe. Microsoft pulled the feature before launch, spent months revising it, and eventually released a revised version in 2025 as opt-in only. And even then, significant skepticism remained. Signal, the privacy-focused messaging app, built a feature specifically to block Recall from capturing its window. Brave and AdGuard did the same. More broadly, Microsoft's push to embed AI features throughout Windows 11, Copilot integrations in menus, notifications, and system settings, generated what TechCrunch reported in March 2026 as a growing consumer pushback against AI bloat. A Pew Research study from June 2025 found that half of US adults were more concerned than excited about AI. Microsoft, to its credit, began rolling back some of its more aggressive Copilot integrations after sustained user resistance. But the damage to trust had already been done. A Windows president at Microsoft described the company's direction as turning Windows into, in his words, an agentic OS. That vision, an operating system that acts on behalf of users, connecting devices, cloud services, and AI to automate tasks, received 1.5 million views on its announcement post in what one report described as brutal criticism from developers and users. The replies were eventually locked. A software engineer's response to that post captured a sentiment that was spreading across the developer community, that the direction of Windows 11 was giving people fewer reasons to stay on the platform, not more. Here is where the story takes a turn that, even 12 months ago, would have seemed overstated. Linux desktop market share reached 4.7% globally in 2025, according to StatCounter data, up from 2.76% in July 2022. The United States crossed 5% for the first time in June 2025. That growth happened fast. The move from 3% to 4% took roughly a year. The move from 4% to nearly 5% took less than 8 months. What drove this? The most direct cause was the end of Windows 10 support in October 2025. Millions of users with hardware that cannot run Windows 11 suddenly had a real decision to make: buy new hardware, pay Microsoft for extended security updates, or try something else. For a significant portion of them, that something else was Linux. Zorin OS, a Linux distribution deliberately designed to look and feel like Windows, so that the transition is as familiar as possible, reported over 780,000 Windows users switching to it in just the first 5 weeks following the Windows 10 end-of-life announcement. By January 2026, Zorin OS 18 had crossed 2 million total downloads, with more than 3/4 of those downloads coming from Windows machines. That is not a community of Linux enthusiasts switching back and forth. That is new users coming from Windows, making a change they had never made before. Gaming, historically the strongest argument for staying on Windows, has also shifted in ways that matter. Valve, the company behind the Steam gaming platform, built its Steam Deck handheld gaming device on a Linux-based operating system. To make that work, Valve developed a compatibility layer called Proton, which translates Windows game code to run on Linux. As of 2025, the vast majority of top-tier Windows games on Steam can run on Linux through Proton. Steam's own hardware survey recorded Linux at 3.05% of its active user base in October 2025. The highest figure since Steam for Linux launched over a decade ago and up from just over 2% in late 2024. GOG, the storefront known for selling games without digital rights management restrictions, made Linux a strategic priority for 2026, specifically citing Windows 11's quality issues and pointing out that Steam OS on the Steam Deck was matching or outperforming Windows 11 in gaming benchmarks on the same hardware. On the institutional side, Germany's state of Schleswig-Holstein completed its transition away from Microsoft tools to Linux and LibreOffice across its public offices as of April 2024, the first European region to make that move at full scale. France operates over 100,000 government computers on a custom Linux distribution. These are not experiments. These are operational deployments driven by real concerns about dependency on a single vendor and the cost of forced hardware upgrades. The Asus BSOD incident is fixable. The performance issues in File Explorer are fixable. The recall privacy controversy Microsoft has been working to address. These are real problems, but they are the kind of problems that a large engineering organization can solve with time and focus. What is harder to fix is the accumulation of decisions that have eroded trust between Microsoft and the people who depend on Windows, the users, the enterprises, and the hardware manufacturers who build the machines that Windows runs on. The TPM 2.0 requirement forced hundreds of millions of people to make an expensive choice that benefited Microsoft's upgrade cycle more than it immediately benefited their security. The aggressive AI integration pushed features onto users who did not ask for them, and in the case of Recall, created genuine security risks in the process. The performance regressions told users that the new version was slower than the old one. And the compatibility failures, where a Windows update crashes specific Asus laptops so reliably that Microsoft has to block the update entirely, tell hardware manufacturers that cooperating with Windows means accepting risk that is not always within their control. The hardware industry is not monolithic. There is no single meeting room where Asus, Dell, HP, and Lenovo sit together and decide to move to Linux. But there are boardrooms at each of those companies where people are running the numbers. And what those numbers increasingly show is that the relationship with Windows is becoming more expensive and less reliable than it used to be. Linux, meanwhile, is becoming less difficult. The distributions aimed at Windows users, Zorin, Linux Mint, and others, have invested heavily in making the transition feel familiar. The gaming compatibility problem that Valve's Proton has addressed is real. The institutional deployments in Europe demonstrate that Linux can work at scale, in serious environments, without the managed chaos quality issues that have defined Windows 11's first several years. None of this means Windows is going away. Windows still holds the vast majority of the desktop market. Enterprise IT infrastructure is deeply entangled with Microsoft's ecosystem in ways that cannot be undone quickly. And for many users, Windows 11 works fine. But the industry's tolerance for Microsoft's missteps is not unlimited. When a Windows update crashes laptops from one of the world's biggest manufacturers and takes 4 months to resolve with a firmware patch, when Windows 10 is still running on nearly half of all Windows PCs despite being officially dead, when Linux crosses 5% in the United States for the first time, something structural is happening. The warning in the headline of this video is real, even if it was never delivered in a single press release. It has been delivered in analyst calls, in download numbers, in migration data, and in the quiet but steady growth of a platform that Windows dismissed for decades. Microsoft still has time to fix this. The question is whether it will treat these signals as the warning they are or wait until they become something harder to reverse.